Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche, done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tie. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
We'll be
Every
He
time
didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't
fired.
get fired. He never got his contract renewed.
Hey guys, welcome to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are episode 4 of season 5. Back at you again. Hey Pavel, how you doing, man? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Pavel?
I'm doing well, Evan. How are you doing? Yes, I can hear you. Am I freezing up again? I'm having some technical difficulties. Season 5, and we're already having issues.
Well, I think the issue is Pavel the cat. I just want you all to know he does not have Felix the cat reflexes. He actually has the reflexes of his fat cat that just sits around the house. And that's the reason for the delay and the latency in his video. Anyway,
You
buddy.
can call me by my name. I'm the fat cat here, right? But not in the good way where I have a bunch of money. But welcome all to season 5, episode 4 of Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are here every Wednesday. Make sure to give us a like, share, subscribe, and follow on YouTube. On Facebook, you can find Evan at REV THE CAT. On Twitter, you can find me at hockey_2. Our YouTube page, we have a Facebook page. Give it a shout. Evan, go ahead.
All right, guys. Well, we want to get right into this today. We want to talk New York Rangers hockey. It's been a while since we've had our guy Alex Thomas on that was talking about Rangers. Now we're moving from Alex and we're getting closer to New York, and we are going to Nick Zararis. I might have said that wrong. He's going to correct me in just a moment so we can get his name right. He's with the Liberty Blue Pod. He produces video content. He's a video producer, guys. He has some great podcasts. You got to check it out. We'll give you all the links later on. Nick, welcome to the show, man.
Glad to be here. We got real hockey to talk about. This is delightful.
Yeah, it's exciting because the preseason's begun. There's a lot of speculation. We know that there's a lot of young guys, rookies, prospects, PTOs trying out. But before we get to all that and all things Rangers, we want to first know, when did your love for the game first begin? Was there a moment in your time in life that you're like, I love the game of hockey, and you fell in love with it?
Playing in gym in like 3rd grade, playing ball hockey in gym class in like 3rd grade, just getting an opportunity to play something never got to play before. And I was like, this is very fun. I like this. Playing goalie in gym because I was the only person who'd be stupid enough to do it. You know, stuff like that. It's fun.
With those old school 1970s or 80s pads that were left over from younger years.
We didn't have pads. They would give you a catcher's chest protector, a catcher's mask, a baseball glove, and a hockey stick. And that's all you got.
I think a lot of people following right now, Nick, would like to know your age because you don't seem old enough to have experienced that.
I'm 26.
Well, we all come from different parts. Hey, guys, before we get a little bit further in, I just want to thank all of our sponsors and those that have been partnering with us before we get into a whole bunch of Ranger questions. If you got some questions for Nick, get his thoughts. You got to throw some stuff up there. Make sure you throw it into our comment section. If we get a chance here, we'll definitely pull it up. I'm also excited to offer some new news, guys. So first of all, Sports Empire Network, our platform is provided by them. You got to check all things podcast. You can check them out on all the social media venues, as well as you can check us out right there on Amazon and Spotify and different places as well through the Sports Empire. Thank you for the partnership they give us. Also, our opening song, if you got a real kick and you love the song Invincible, our rights to that song have been provided by Penny Billionaires out of Phoenix, Arizona, electric hard rock fused band. You got to check them out. We're going to go to our site a little bit later. You can check and follow everything on our site, but it's through JR Web Designs who provides us with that website in our partnership. If you guys really want an affordable website, this is an excellent chance. It is really good quality and at an excellent price. And I am excited to announce today that we have a new partnership with the Michigan Independence Hockey League. We are going to be the official partner right now with the Kalkaska Battlers. The Kalkaska Battlers. So we're going to bring you more news. I've just met. We're going to get Andrew on. They're starting up in about 4 weeks. And so we're going to talk to you more about what's happening in this semi-pro league that's been running now for the last, I believe, 4 years now. So, you can go on to Elite Prospects and check out the lineup of all the guys that they have going on. All right, Nick, we're ready to get into it, man. Preseason. What are you seeing in the lineups? What's your thoughts on the kid line? Capo, I mean, give us a start. Where do you want to start talking about what's happening right now?
The Rangers are in a very weird spot where it felt like there was a lot of turnover in the offseason because they changed the coach, but the lineup is more or less the same. The fourth line is going to be different, and Blake Wheeler's going to slide in somewhere else. But for the most part, this is kind of the same exact team as last year, where the only real difference is going to be the coaching and if they can get a little bit more out of the guys they already have. Kakko, Hedl, and Lafreniere have all gotten progressively better at different rates. Hedl has gotten the best out of all of them probably over the longest period of time. I mean, he's been with the organization since 2017. He's played. It's taken a while to get where he's at. And that's part of why everybody's kind of reaching this, I don't want to say breaking point, but point of frustration with Kakko and Lafreniere, where they're waiting for the counting stats to come because the play is solid. When you watch Kakko and you watch Lafreniere play, there's nothing that jumps out to you as this is bad, this doesn't work. They're both a little slower than you would like, but as far as their hockey IQ, positioning, their playmaking ability, they both have it. It's just a matter of if they're ever going to get that final nudge to go from being solid player to 50, 60 point guy, which is kind of what the Rangers really both need them both to be.
No, that's very true. Now, I got to say, one of the best signings this offseason was Blake Wheeler for probably, like, it was a steal. I mean, $850,000. You're bringing in a veteran, a former captain. You know, it didn't work out in Winnipeg. What are you hoping he brings to these young three gentlemen and that team?
I honestly have no idea what to expect from Blake Wheeler because I have no idea what they're going to do with him. He could slide in anywhere, and I wouldn't be particularly surprised. I was talking with somebody earlier today who compared this to Brendan Shanahan the second time around when it was like 2006 or 7, where he finished his Rangers tenure playing on the fourth line like 7 minutes a game because he was just done. If you told me that's what happened this year with Blake Wheeler, I wouldn't be that surprised. If you told me he was going to play in the right bumper spot on the first power play and finish with 60 points, riding shotgun with either Panarin or Zibanejad for the bulk of the year, I wouldn't be that surprised. It's really hard to gauge because you don't know what you're going to do with him, and they're still in the trial and error phase. They've talked about playing Kakko on the third line. They've talked about playing Lafreniere on the right side. They're experimenting with Gaudreau on the third line and Gaudreau on the fourth line. So until we get a better sense of what the lineup's going to look like, I can't really tell you what I expect from Blake Wheeler. For what he costs, it's a steal. It's just a matter of what you're going to get from him. And he's already kind of what the Rangers have. They have a lot of guys who do that. The playmaking, the biggest issue the Rangers have is they don't have enough guys who just shoot. Blake Wheeler is another guy who's more of a facilitating type than a shooting type. So you add that to him, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Hedl, Panarin, guys who have good shots but choose to pass more, and you just end up playing hot potato, which is what happened at points last year.
No, that's fair. Now, all great teams go through hurdles. They struggle. And 2 years ago, like the Oilers, like a few other teams, they were in the Final Four. There was great expectations coming in. Shesterkin, Vezina Trophy winner, like great goalie, even had really good numbers last year, and people still kind of, poo-pooed on him, which we'll get to goaltending in just a sec because you brought in legendary John Quick. But looking at this team right now, what is it that they need to do, and what can Peter Laviolette do to get them mentally a little bit over the hump and get over someone like the Jersey Devils, who are really fast and can acclimatize to a lot of systems, or Carolina, who can play a very structured physical game, because they're going to be in a tough division with in the Metro, and then you've got the Islanders, you've got Pittsburgh, Washington trying to push for a playoff spot. What do they need to do to get back to that Final Four and potentially even to a Stanley Cup performance since, I believe, 2012 or 2014? 2012 versus
14.
LA, if I recall.
2014. The
14,
Devils was 2012. Devils with Kings was 2012. So it's fascinating because the Rangers won 50-something games last year. They had the 6th best record in the regular season last year, and they never really felt that good of a team. They were very clunky. They struggled a lot of the season. They went on that 8-game losing streak from November through early December, and they didn't really get going until Shesterkin himself got going. And as the season progressed, from about January to the end of February, about till the time they added Patrick Kane, was kind of when the team took its shape. And then when they added Patrick Kane, they had to reconfigure a lot of the lineup to figure out who was going to play with who, and they never really got over that. So as far as what they need to do, making the playoffs is not really the concern. The talent to make the playoffs is there. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, that's either catastrophic injury or something entirely out of the forecast happens. This is a team that's well within its bounds to win over 100 standings points. It's a matter of when they get to the playoffs, are they going to be able to play with the best teams? We talked about this on Liberty Blue this past week on Monday, where the Rangers have a really good forward group. You talk about Panarin, Trocheck, Zibanejad, Kreider. That's a really good 1 through 4 as far as your best 4 forwards. The issue comes when you have to play teams who have guys that are better than you. And to win a Stanley Cup, you are going to have to beat a team that's probably better than you, more likely than not. So if your guys, when you go head-to-head with New Jersey, we're talking Hughes, Bratt, Meyer, Heischer, Dawson Mercer is a 20-25 goal guy. Can the Rangers' best guys hang with those guys, push them to a draw? If you can do that, then I think you have a good conversation where the Rangers' depth and their defense and their goal sending can lead them to a lot of places. But they are going to run into the same issue that Carolina's run into the last couple of years, where Carolina's got a really good team. But when they get deeper into the playoffs and they play teams with better players than them, like Florida this past year, where you've got Barkov and Tkachuk just humming and there's nothing you can do to stop them. Aho is a really good player. He's not of the tier of Tkachuk and Barkov, and that's okay. Like that's what makes the special players so special. But for the Rangers, who rely so much on those top guys at the highest parts of their lineup to do the bulk of the heavy lifting, are they going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Devils? I don't think their high-end guys will. I think if they're to get over the Devils, it's more through a 1 through 12 cohesive, greater than the sum of its parts approach, which is where the coaching comes in. As you were saying, they bring in a new coach who they really feel that was Chris Drury's big gamble this summer was the players are right, the coach isn't. I didn't think Gallant was the biggest reason they lost to the Devils last year. I don't think he helped, but I don't think he deserved the bulk of the blame. But that was his chip, because they could have been more aggressive this summer. They could have bought out Barclay Goodrow. They could have came up with more cap space to get another player in, another more impactful player in here, to go get somebody of the Tyler Toffoli tier, who's now in New Jersey, who didn't cost the Devils a whole lot. So they think just with a little bit better coaching, they're going to be able to get more out of these guys.
Okay, so asking that question, so Knobloch got an opportunity, Hartford Wolfpack on the affiliate team. He got an opportunity to get an interview. It was kind of a silent thing. Not a lot of people knew about it. What's your thought? I mean, we had this discussion at for Pavel and I. One of the things that I tell people is I actually feel like Knobloch might have been the better decision, but I know the heads that roll in New York, they want success now. And they want veterans. They seem to always want to go with the veteran guys. Did you guys have a take on that on Liberty Blue on your podcast?
The way we looked at it was there were two sides to it, the coach side to it and the organization, because the interests of those two parties are not always aligned. You heard the Seattle assistant coach, Jay Leach, mention this, that the Rangers wanted to talk to me, but I didn't feel I was ready for that opportunity, which is code for, I know if I mess this up, I'm not going to get another chance for a while. And the stakes are going to be high here. I've got probably 2 years to make it to a conference final, or they're going to replace me. That is the reason I think they went with the veteran coach as opposed to somebody like Knobloch or Jay Leach or even Spencer Carberry. I know he had gotten hired by Washington before the Rangers really got going there, or Mitch Love, even the Calgary affiliate coach. But as far as Laviolette, I don't think a coach is going to be the difference between this team going what they were last year and the Stanley Cup. The players need to play better. As much as Gallant annoyed me with some of his habits and tendencies, the players are the ones who got shut out 3 of the 7 games against the Devils. I mean, you cannot be that dependent on power play scoring to win you games. The 4 games they lost in the series to the Devils were the 4 games they didn't score on the power play. At some point, the players need to look around and accept, well, we got to be better. And nobody had a bad word to say about Gallant. And then as soon as Gallant got fired, well, it's bad he's gone, but we need a new voice now. And it's great to be a player's coach until they fire you, because then all of a sudden, well, we need more direction. We didn't practice hard enough, which is exactly what they did. They threw Gallant under the bus as soon as it was acceptable. They weren't complaining about short practice and not working hard last year.
All right, so Zil says, but the coach can make it harder for the team to do well consistently. So I believe what Zil's just trying to say here is that the coach may not be able to take them over, but definitely the coach can hold them back. Do we think that could have been a situation with Gallant?
In certain respects, yes. The point off of that I think is worth mentioning is the usage of some guys in the lineup is questionable. It's befuddling. You think about the last 2 years, the various players who've gotten opportunities in the top 6 who they've played with, where they ran Barclay Goodrow and Jimmy Vesey on lines with Artemi Panarin. And no disrespect, Jimmy Vesey and Barclay Goodrow, useful NHL players. On good teams, those guys are 3rd and 4th liners. I don't know if you can win a championship with those guys on your second line. They drafted Kakko 2nd overall, Lafreniere 1st overall. At some point, you needed to find out what those guys were. And, we're 4 years removed from Kakko's draft. We're 3 years removed from Lafreniere's draft. And you still don't know what they are. So to that guy's point about holding the team back, yeah, there's a real argument that if you let Lafreniere and Kakko take more lumps over the last 2 years, you'd have a better sense of what your team is right now.
So Nick, you may have a better pulse on this, and sometimes it's something behind the scenes. And I'll give one example in Vancouver, because I know they've gone through this with Tanner Pearson, who's now moved on, but really to Montreal. But there was some issues with his hand last year. The medical staff, it's not that they did a bad job. They just didn't good enough because there was something omitted, got an infection, took longer to recover. Do you think that maybe Chris Drury needs to look maybe outside of maybe the coaching staff, the development staff, the skill staff that are brought in to assist these young guys to develop? Because Hedl has really turned into a great pro, signed that new contract early on in the year, really settled himself as that 3rd line, could be 2nd, really, wherever you want to put him. He's kind of versatile that way. Do you think that they need to do something behind the scenes more? Because we all know New York, like one of the original 6, will make a bunch of money. Do they need to work on that or no? Or is it something completely out of left field?
It's funny you bring that up, because that's something they did this summer, was they overhauled a lot of their player development and their support staff this summer, which Drury's been on the job 2.5 years now, because he got the job in the spring of 21 right after they missed the playoffs. They fired him. They fired Jeff Gorton and David Quinn, and he got the job about a week after they did that. And he took 2 years, but they've slowly but surely started to turn over a lot of the behind-the-scenes staff, because, at some point, it's not an anomaly when everybody you draft doesn't turn into anything. You think about the guys the Rangers have drafted over the last decade, the notable NHL players in the first round, JT Miller, Chris Kreider, Brady Shea. 2 of those guys aren't with the organization anymore. And then most of the other guys are question marks or not on NHL teams right now. Vitaly Kravtsov, Lias Andersson, 2 guys who got uneven starts, didn't really stick, went to other teams, have other issues, but they've overhauled the draft people, because the guy who they had in charge of the European scouting is with Montreal now, with Jeff Gorton in Montreal. And they've overhauled a lot. But the problem is, you're trying to win a championship right now. You won't see the impact of changing over that staff for 3 or 4 years from now. They've drafted interesting pieces the last year or two. Whether or not Othman makes the team, I don't think they have a spot for him in the top 9 right now. And I don't think it makes sense for him to play on the 4th line here, when he'd stand to benefit a lot more from getting 20 minutes a game in Hartford on the 1st line, because this is the first year he's eligible for the AHL, because he's finally over the age limit now. But changing all of that stuff is great. But with how time sensitive everything is, because that's the undercurrent of all of these decisions, is Zibanejad is 30, Kreider is 32, Panarin is 31. You don't know how much longer Shesterkin is going to be the best or second best goalie in the entire league. That's your ticking clock. Vinny Trocheck is 28 or 29 years old. You don't have a lot of runway, because once the drop off of those guys happens, you're done, because you're locked into all of those guys at really rough numbers for a lot of time. So that's why all of these moves are about right now. So it's great. They're trying to get more out of their future, but the team is built for right now. If they're banking on any of the guys they've drafted in the last 2 or 3 years to make notable impacts,
right.
I just don't see it.
That's totally fair. So let before Pavel goes to his question, I can see he's ready for a Liberty Blue question. I want to go back to Lafreniere, and I've had this conversation. I do see a difference. I mean, I had him in my Revs top 15, obviously number one. Like, no one did not have him number one. So let's just end that debate. Just like now, Yakupov, no one didn't have him. But I do want to come back to a comparison in the production. So right now, we're sitting at about 120, 130 games less than Niall Yakupov. Niall played 350. I believe we're at 210 or 220 right now for Lafreniere. He's sitting at a .43. Niall finished with a .39. Those last couple of years really killed him. Obviously, he's a much better defensive player, definitely has a career. But when it comes to a number one, how are New York Ranger fans handling this? Because that's tough, getting a player and then not having them turn out to be that superstar like you at least hoped for your solid top six within a couple of years.
It's a layered question because, like any fan base, you're going to get a wide swath of opinion. You have a lot of people who expected him to slide in right away and put up a ton of counting stats, but you got to look at some of the underlying stuff where he's playing 12 minutes a night, 13 minutes a night his rookie season, and a 56 game season after getting his junior season canceled. That's the other part of this with Lafreniere you have to bring up. He got his development, his draft year and his first development year entirely screwed up by the pandemic. Destroyed. It lost an entire season of development where their season got paused in, I want to say, March, and he didn't play in a competitive hockey game again until the last week of January the following year. And that was his first NHL camp, which was only 10 days long. They had one preseason game. They didn't really give him a lot of runway to build himself up, so they sheltered him. He played very sparingly. He still hasn't gotten a ton of power play time. The 5-on-5 numbers tell you that he's okay, but unless he ever gets an opportunity to play consistently with a Panarin, with a Zibanejad, your ceiling playing 14 minutes a night is probably 50 points. And that's if you're playing really well and not getting a ton of power play time. Because he's averaging, I want to say, something like a minute 20, minute 30 of power play time for his career so far. And we're 3 years in. He's averaged, I want to say, the second least time on ice of any first overall pick through his first 3 years in the league. He just has not played as much hockey as a lot of the other first overall picks.
No, that's fair. I think we've just argued here on the show, and I'm sure people like you've indicated there's varying spectrum of where he lands in terms of not being necessarily a generational talent like a potential Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid, what it was, but more so of a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is what kind of I think Rangers fans expected, of just being solid two-way guy who can really compete, but put up a bit more points. Now, I want to just kind of take us back to the defensive side because I think that New York has one of the most underrated blue liners ever, including Keandre Miller, Jacob Trouba, one of my favorite, Ryan Lindgren, who literally that man can take a bullet and will still play 40 minutes on the ice. That's how good he is, right? Let's talk about kind of the defense and what you're expecting from him this season. And as an aside, why is Jacob Trouba such an effective and smart hockey hitter? Because every time I see a highlight, people are questioning it or saying he needs to be fined, he needs to be suspended, but all his hits are clean. Sorry, two-parter question, but go ahead.
On paper, this is one of the best 1 through 6s in the entire league. On paper, the talent isn't the question. If your worst defenseman is either Eric Gustafsson or Zach Jones, you're in decent shape. there are a lot of teams that struggle to put out two good defensive pairs. So on paper, the talent is there for this to be a good defensive team.
Yeah.
The issue is what the coaching staff, what Gallant's coaching staff had asked them to do. A lot of what they've did the last 2 years was try to minimize risk as much as possible, which means when you recover the puck, off the window, out, reset, regather yourself, minimize your risk as much as possible, live to survive till the next play. But eventually, over the course of a long season and in a playoff series, that wears you down. You have to play more defense when you're playing that type of hockey. So in theory, if you have a slight change in what you're asking your defensemen to do, where you encourage them to either skate the puck out of danger or pass the puck out of danger as opposed to clearing it, you're going to play less defense overall, which is going to give you better defense. As far as Trouba, he's willing to take risks. That's the biggest thing. He does get burned a lot playing the way he does because he's a high leverage player. That's the way I describe it. He's the guy who's got his money burning his hole in his pocket at the poker table who, I got it. And every time he lines up one of those hits, you just hope he makes contact with the guy because there's more than one clip of him just entirely whiffing going to clean somebody because he does it a lot. Teams target him in the neutral zone for that specific reason because they're willing to take the risk that he's going to go to throw the hit, and all we do if he misses, we got a 2-on-1 going past him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
As far as what makes him good at his job, he's always where he's trying to be where he needs to be at all times. Yeah. And for the most part, when he's lining these hits up, he keeps his elbow tucked in. He's not leading with the point of his elbow, and he stays on his feet. Those are the principal points in the rule book as far as what defines an illegal hit. He plays it directly within the rule book as far as what you can get away with.
So, you know, it's interesting. A name that comes up when I watch you, and I'm glad you brought that point because not everyone knows that. They just see the hits. If you don't follow the Rangers closer, you're not seeing on the ice where there's times he goes for the hit and he misses, and then he's got a missed assignment. And his fellow defenseman's there. You know who he reminds me of? Now, this goes back a little older school. Is Ulf Samuelsson. Different kind of a player, but Ulf was like that. He got a lot of hits. He was strong. He was tough. But unless you actually knew, because some people loved him or hated him on his own team because of those things. But he also has what it takes in the playoffs, but it's a hit or miss if he can actually keep his mind in the game to not take as many risks, right? With it. That's
the thing. Yeah, no, I was going to say, at some point you have to be able to withdraw yourself and be like, hey, I can't make this pinch right now because if they go past me, we're in a tie game right now. I need to play it safe. I need to force this guy to dump in the puck behind me, and I need to go get it. And there is a point where you need to calculate that risk, and that's where you live and die by the body check in today's NHL because everybody's so fast.
Yeah, exactly. It actually, you make a fool of yourself. Speaking of that, I just got to show you guys something here. So, hey, Brett, thanks for joining in. Earlier, he says, what's pooping, y'all? But then, of course, talking about making a fool of yourself. Sorry, Brett, I just got to bring it up. Then he says, popping, not pooping. Okay, so one of the other questions that just came up is around Igor. Will Igor win a Vezina? What's your thought and take on this?
It's hard to win two. The NHL voters do not like to give multiple awards to people. You think about Henrik Lundqvist, how good he was for his entire time in the NHL. He only won one Vezina. Igor already got a Vezina. There's a good chance he doesn't win another one just because he already has one. And you think about all the other goalies who are really talented who haven't won one yet. You talk about Sorokin on Long Island. You see Saros has yet to win one. Jake Ottinger still is somebody who could win one. But if he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to keep being a finalist. I mean, there's a real argument he should have won the Hart 2 years ago instead of the Vezina, how important he was to the team in 2021, 2022. He was outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would counter saying that with UC Saros that I should take a shot every time people talk about how short he is because I'd be super turned real quick because that's literally all they ever say on the broadcast.
They do. It's true. Yes, but that's how you tell the national broadcast because they just don't have enough notes that they go back to what they have in their note sheet and, oh, he's very short. Oh, he's from Switzerland. Oh, he backed up Pecorine, and that's all they have on their note sheet.
It's so what is your expectation for the team this season? Because it's very competitive for the Metro in terms of winning. I personally think that Jersey could potentially take it, barring, injuries. And goaltending is really my question. But again, who knows what will happen at the trade deadline? What are your thoughts for the team? And then, like you said, playoffs should be, make it. But what are your thoughts for expecting it? And maybe a player that we should watch out for that normally people don't pay attention to.
So as far as playoffs, I expect them to finish second or third in the division. I think just on basic math, Carolina or the Devils more than likely finishes ahead of you. And those teams are both really good. Carolina is a little bit deep. Carolina's a little bit deeper where they have more bodies than you. And the Devils' high-end talent is better than your high-end talent. So more likely than not, one of those two teams ahead of you, which means you're going to play the other one probably in the first round of the playoffs. You would rather for the Rangers, at least you would probably rather play Carolina. Historically, you've played Carolina pretty well. Your high-end players have outplayed their high-end players in close games. Zibanejad in particular has played against Carolina very well in the postseason. The question for me in regards to the Rangers is just, can the coach make enough of a difference from last year versus this year? What they add at the deadline, whether they're going to bring Kane in or not. Those are really the questions. As far as expectations, you need to win at least one round this year to validate what you did in the summer. Yeah. If they get to the second round, at that point in the second round, you're at a roll of the dice. And once you get that far into the postseason, the further you go, at that point, you're just on the ride. There aren't predictions. There's not sounding smart. These are the 8 best teams that are left, and then these are the 4 best teams that are left, and not the best team wins every year. Hockey has the least formulaic playoffs out of the 4 other North American sports, and that's why all you got to do is get in. This Rangers team, it's really simple. You've got the best or second best goalie in the world, depending on your opinion. You've got the second best defenseman in the entire world. That gets you a seat at the table. You add Zibanejad and Panarin. Those are 2 guys who can flirt with 100 points. That gets you really close. Kreider, 40-goal guy. Okay, you're in the conversation with Dallas, with Vegas, with Toronto, with Colorado. You're in the discussion with those guys. Eventually, though, you got to beat them. It's not just about having the talent. It's you got to find something in you to beat a team that's better than you. Because historically, the Rangers haven't really done that. When they've gone on these deep playoff runs, they've beaten the teams they're supposed to. 2 years ago, they beat Pittsburgh and Carolina. Then Tampa, at the end of their run, they weren't supposed to beat Tampa. You can live with that. You can say they were the better team.
Fair. So just coming back, on your Liberty Blue Pod, you guys actually talked about the speed of the Devils. So we're going to get ready to wrap up, everyone. Any last questions you guys have for Nick? Put it in the comment section and we'll mention it or send a text. So you talked about their speed versus we don't have as much speed on the Rangers right now. So how do you counter that? I know if they go back, they might be able to find it. Maybe give us a little hint of what you guys talked about. What would be the game plan for the Rangers to take out the speed of the Devils should they meet in the playoffs?
It's got to be structure. It's got to be more rigid structure and having something to fall back on. That was the biggest issue in the Rangers series against the Devils was the Devils were faster, and then the Rangers tried to swim against the current. You know when they tell you in a riptide you're supposed to swim parallel to it instead of straight against it? That's what the Rangers did. They tried to play in a foot race with the Devils, and they got outskated. And they looked slow. And they only added slow guys. They added Blake Wheeler. They added Tyler Pitlick. They added Nick Bonino. None of those guys is winning a foot race against Jack Hughes. Let's just be honest. So the way you counter that is with better structure, and you're going to have to have better decision making. That's really what it comes down to as far as beating the teams that are better than you, because the Rangers really made it easy for the Devils in the playoffs last year. It's not just that the Devils are a good team. It's that the Rangers made it easy for them to play the type of game they wanted to. So it really is going to come down to being more reliant on structure and falling back on, okay, I have the puck here. It needs to go here. If they're forechecking from this direction, I need it to go here. It's really as simple as that. You think about the comparison, and I'll throw this to the football world because this is one I was reading something about earlier. The Dolphins scored 70 points against Denver this week. 2 weeks ago against the Patriots, they only scored 24. The Patriots sat with 3 deep safeties the entire game and said, throw in front of them. You're not going to get by us. We'll let you throw 15-yard drives and get down the field and eventually score, but you're not going to beat us on the big play. The Rangers need the hockey equivalent of that, which is playing a little bit more passive in the neutral zone, forcing guys to dump the puck in, and then going to win that loose puck in the corners.
Nope. You make a valid point, and I think if you play with structure, if you look even at the New Jersey Carolina system, and if as you alluded to that New York can outplay Carolina, and beat them, they should do what they did because essentially Carolina, they're more physical, right? You got to remember the New Jersey Devils are a little bit smaller, younger team. They're not as good. I mean, they did bulk up a little bit. I give credit where credit is due. Akira played out unreal. He came in. Nobody expected him to play as well as he did. Rookie goaltender, genie in a bottle, kind of like that. But at the end of the day, you got good goaltending from your goaltender, from Shesterkin. You need your forwards and your top guys to score big. Where were they, right? And I think when you're looking at Kreider, when you're looking at Panarin, when you're looking at Zibanejad, where are you guys? You guys need to put the puck in the net. That is what you're paid the big bucks for.
Well,
exactly.
Before we let you go, Nick, why don't we ask you one last question and a take? Everyone loves the trade deadlines. Everyone loves the rumors, the opening off-season signings. There is something that's been sitting out there. I'm sure you guys talked about it over at Liberty Blue. It's Patrick Kane and what will happen coming back from surgery. Is it possible he could end up back in a Rangers uniform? What's your take? What's your final thought?
There's more than likely a good chance the Rangers are one of the teams that he'll talk to. It's really a matter of what he prioritizes, whether it's playing time or winning. I think the Rangers are probably one of the better landing spots that could conceivably make it work. If they were to bring him in, they probably wouldn't be able to do it until a little while into the season because they need to accrue a little more cap space and they probably need to make a subsequent roster move.
Yeah.
I don't think he fits what they want from their right wings because they kind of forced it last year, and you want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt because he was playing with the bum hip, but he was a little bit slow. He wasn't willing to shoot. So when he was out there, it was just him and Panarin passing the puck back and forth to each other, and there were no scoring chances generated. So it was great they had the puck, but they weren't getting a whole lot out of it. I think realistically, his best play is to wait into the season and see how some of these teams shake out before committing to a landing spot. And frankly, the longer you wait, the more teams that become viable because they need the cap space to sign him.
Absolutely. Man, Nick, so guys, if you want to follow Nick, last question. You got something, Pavel?
Oh, I was just going to speculate at something off the wall in looking at Ottawa and Shane Pinto. I know that they're looking for a contract. I know they've been looking at trading him potentially because they need to make cap space. A young guy who can score 20 to 25 goals, and potentially send a young prospect over or someone else that Ottawa can use. Like, just thinking outside the box. I don't know. Your thoughts?
They don't have the cap space to make that work. They have, I want to say, like 1.5, 1.6 at the moment. So they need to wait a little while before they do anything. Right now, especially in training camp where you're going to be carrying more bodies than you probably should, you'll get a better idea what they're going to do a month into the season because they traded Reeves in, I want to say, November of last year when they realized, we need to start generating cap space so we can add guys at the deadline. So give it a little while before the Rangers do anything.
Just so speaking of Reeves, Zilstra says Pavel thinks the NHL is always fantasy thinking. Well, of course it is. That's the whole point. I'm going to take calls on anybody. I'm an armchair GM. Speaking of Reeves, I know he was brought in because of the incident between Tom Wilson and Panarin. Any thoughts about what that's going to continue on? Because I know hockey players have long-term memories. Any insight into potentially where that could evolve with the Washington Capitals and Tom Wilson?
I don't think it matters anymore because Washington's just not that good. Washington at this point is get Ovi the goal scoring record. That's the only reason that team kept everybody. That's why they gave Dylan Strome that extension. They traded for Sandin. Yeah. That Washington, I don't think it matters anymore because they're not. That game was kind of like if the Rangers won that game, they still would have been in the mix for a playoff spot. So the tension was a little bit higher. The stakes were a little bit more real for both of those teams. Now, I mean, Wilson played 35 games last year because he was so dinged up. At this point, Wilson hasn't really done anything like that since that incident. So I don't know if it's Reeves more or less. I just think the stakes aren't as high for when these two teams play each other.
He signed a big contract with the Capitals, so clearly he's done that. He's put pen to paper.
Oh, they gave him the golden parachute. He'll retire 4 years. He'll retire 4 years into that contract. He'll keep getting paid. They'll give him some type of role in the organization, and everybody's happy. They won their cup. They did their job.
Yeah.
That's
fair
crazy.
enough. Sorry, that was my only thing when you brought up Ryan.
No, you're
Reese.
fine.
Yeah. All right, guys. So you can give Nick a follow. So just so you guys all know, you can actually go on to our site. If you go onto our website, in there's a list of former guests. So Nick's going to be put in there. We're going to give you ways to follow him, all the stuff that he has going. He has more than one thing happening on the go on a regular basis. So we'll make sure to get all that kind of stuff in there for you guys to be able to see and check out. Nick, man, it's been a blast. We'll have to touch base again later in the season. Let's see how things are going. Be interesting to see. I just like to say that I really wonder between Chito, Capo, Lafreniere, if something could end up changing throughout the season on one of those players as being a major asset in getting something back. Not short term, but a long-term deal that could maybe be, you take someone of mine that hasn't fit. I'm not sure exactly who and where, but I just can't see them just playing them as a third line guys, I guess.
It looks like they're going to break them up, at least to start the year.
Does it?
So, yeah, it looks like Lafreniere is going to start with Zibanejad. Kako is going to keep playing with either Trocheck or Hedel because they haven't decided which of those centers is going to play with Panarin. So it's early. Laviolette has said more than once, I'm going to juggle the lines a bunch in the preseason. I want to see who plays well with who.
Wow.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to follow more all things Rangers and get their direct insight?
So the Twitter handle, I'm pointing the wrong way. I forgot it's mirrored. My Twitter handle is Nick Zararis, just my name, Nick, Zararis. I do Liberty Blue Pod. We're every Monday live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at 6 o'clock. I do Locked on Flames. I'll be up to 3 times a week because the season's actually starting. I do a ton of content. If you're not a hockey person, I do a ton of NFL stuff as well. So, I'll see you on the internet. I live on the internet, unfortunately.
Who's your NFL team? Who are you rooting for? I'm just curious.
I'm unfortunately a Giant fan. I sat through the rain, that 40-point loss the first week of the season. I sat in the rain for 4 hours, and my team couldn't score 1 point.
Oh, man, that was an abysmal game.
New York. Sorry. It's New Yorker bus, man. New Yorker bus. Awesome.
Who
Thanks,
do you
Nick.
think loses first, the Dolphins or the Eagles?
Probably the Eagles. The Eagles haven't looked good, and they've won every game by at least a touchdown.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think Pavel should jump and start his 2 guys in NFL talk. There you go. You got Kyle going. Kyle's from the I'm going to throw this in here, Kyle. He says, I feel bad for you, the Giants. So Kyle's with the Sports Empire Network. And he does. Right?
He's also a Bruins guy, so clearly he makes the right choices in the NHL as well.
So hey, Kyle, I was trying to promote you, but Pavel keeps cutting me off. But that's okay, man. All right, Nick. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for joining us on Two Guys in Hockey Talk.
Cheers. All the best.
Oh man, poor guy. Poor guy.
Poor guy. That was fun. Oh, poor guy.
No. I was just thinking about when you're trying to follow the team and going through that. Talking about football. So we're in Canada and our local team. I've tried to cheer on the Elks. But, it's really hard when your team loses and loses and loses and sets records for losing. But if you're a true diehard fan, you can make it happen. So,
all right, man. And again, if you guys want more NFL content, go check out Kyle's show. He's got quite a bit chomping at the bit. But Evan, every week.
All right, let's just throw in a little bit, guys. So Sports Empire. So Kyle joined Keith, Freddie. Gene, there's a whole bunch of them. They have a whole bunch of content at Sports Empire on all the platforms. You can also check out the Sports Empire Network on the website and get straight through. Now, also, Penny Billionaires, go check them out on all your music avenues. Penny Billionaires, thank you for sponsoring us and our opening intro song, which we have. Our website that we have is brought to you by JR Web Design. So on our site, you'll notice that we have a section. I have my Revs Top 15, which I will be putting out as I build into it. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a bit. We also have all of our latest articles that are put up there. And
more are coming. Expect it. So bookmark it. Make sure you have it because almost weekly there's a new article up there on the site, as well as our weekly program every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Go ahead.
So Pavel's saying almost weekly, just because we're coming out of the summer break and we're all getting ready.
Yeah.
So there are more articles. We got delayed on a couple. So there's one coming in tomorrow. We got some more on Russia. So we got 4 of us, sometimes 5, that are writing. We just haven't been getting out the content. So ultimately, we want to get you 4 to 7 articles a month, a week, if we can get to it. So
flow of hair.
Yeah. So guys, as well as I just want to take you back and just talk quickly. If you guys didn't hear it earlier, we have now joined a partnership with the Kalkaska Battlers of the MIHL. So we are going to be partnering with them, giving them promotion. We want you guys to go check them out. We're going to be giving you links to be able to go check them out through stream. They are a league, a semi-pro league in northern Michigan. So you can actually go onto Elite Prospects, go find out about the Kalkaska Battlers. We're looking forward to welcoming the team as we go live into their home rink and welcome and wish them luck, because we know people get luck. Now, talking about luck, I just want to mention, we have a load of guests coming. So for example, we just had on Nick. Now, after Nick, we have Hunter Hoodies. We have Tom Gazzola. We have Alex, I apologize, Adam Proto of the Hockey News. We got, if you guys remember, we had Cassidy Sauvé of the Buffalo Buttes. Well, there was another Buffalo Butte named Carly Jackson who went to the Toronto Six, and she is now with Mount Allison doing coaching. She has just got invited to the training camp. We have her linked up for the PWHL. So she's going to be in their training camp. We are going to be working around those hours. But also, the head coach now of the New York franchise, former guest to our show, was Howie Draper. Now, Howie Draper is the new coach in the PWHL. So we're going to ask you guys, throw a good word into the PWHL, because we're going to work at connecting more and try to get more people from inside. Pavel, man, we've been trying to promote the PWA, not specifically the PWHL, but
women's hockey.
One league, women's hockey with one league. We've talked about this for a while. And there is great opportunity moving forward here right now with what's going on in the game of women's hockey.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And we applaud Howie for his new successful position. We look forward to seeing the league succeed. We're happy to see that the NHL will back up, as they've noted, one women's hockey league, official one. And even though there's 6 teams, I have a feeling that it's going to grow pretty quickly and exponentially. And there's going to be a market and appetite for more teams. And I wouldn't be surprised in a few years we see maybe up to 12, if not 16 teams in the PWHL. So I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to be here to report on it. We're going to write about it. We want to talk to all the players because we love hockey here. Hockey is hockey.
Woo! So, hey, just a quick mention. I know Zylstra. So Zylstra is our lost trucker. So if you ever see comments of the lost trucker, so we're asking her to get up to Kalkaska. We like her to be able to see if she can check out a game and then report back to us on our new partnership, so that she can kind of tell us how they're kind of playing out there. But hey, I have a few things I want to talk about.
Let's go.
So I'm just going to quickly mention, I'm not going to spend time on it today. First of all, guys, I talked to you about the 3 prospects, Celebrini, Iserman, and Demidov. The next 3 that I have in place are Artsem Levshunov, Sam Dixon, and Konsta Helnias. Now, I'm not going to break through those people today, but those are the first 6, and each week I'm going to give you the 3 and 3 more, and then 3 more over the next few weeks, and then I'm going to pull them up, and I'm going to give you a little quick video feed of each one, showing you some of their highlights and the stuff behind it, just so you guys can get a little more information between what's coming, as well as I'm going to be writing some articles of future watch players that aren't for 2024, but that could be 2025 and 2026, because sometimes it's kind of fun to be able to see the progression and the growth of some of these players. So, okay, can we talk about preseason in the NHL? Let's talk about preseason. So I have some different thoughts. So first of all, it's interesting how games, like for example, today, so Toronto game between Toronto and Buffalo, they're playing a game in a small arena. It's not the big arena. Not every team plays 8 games. Some play 4, some play 6, some play 8. I don't know. Maybe some play 5. Who knows now across the league? Now, as a fan, you're paying full price for all those games, whether you like them or not. They're never sellouts. It's frustrating. You got all these players playing in these games. It is not the same as it was. So it was interesting. I've listened over the years, and you listen to some of the old boys, and when they got out there, for example, you get in a fight. You're taking guys on. You're crushing me into the boards. You're taking chances. Can I just say that if a player plays, it's like they're overcoached. It's all about the X's and the O's. And guys, I'm telling you, I know I'm not your coach, and I know someone's telling you different. But if it's preseason, you got to do something to show that you belong. I know it's preseason. Take a chance. Go for it. Do something extra. Take a Jacob Trouba opportunity. Get a good hit. Show them you can land it. But make sure you land it, because if not, you'll be in the juniors. Oh, wait. You're probably going back to junior anyway, because there is no spots available except for one spot on a team, which you have 25 bloody players playing. Okay, my rant's done, dude. Any thoughts on preseason? Do they need to shorten it? Do they need to make it more interesting? What do you think?
Yes and no. I mean, I think people enjoy seeing these players, and it's an opportunity not only for players who have signed a PTO, but young rookies and prospects coming in to make an impression. So you may, as a fan, be playing and saying, oh, I want to see the best of the best. And sometimes that lineup's not going to show up. You look at Edmonton, you're not going to have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on the ice, or you're not going to have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, because they're resting their body. They want to play meaningful games. They're not meaningful games. And you hear sometimes out of these games, block shot, injury, sensitivity, something's out. It could be a shorter season, definitely, if they're looking at, as they talked about last year, extending the regular season from 82 games to 84 games. Not set in stone, but potentially could happen in the future. So if you're extending the regular season, you definitely want a shorter preseason. This comes down to money and the owners. The owners want to get butts in seats. Yes, butts in the seats. And so they want to sell out as much as possible. As Evan said, the prices are pretty much the same, sometimes a little bit less.
Yeah.
And, sometimes this is the only way that kids can get a chance to go see the games, but you don't always see the big stars. But again, you see what you have with your development. And this is why I think, Evan, and I could be wrong, and maybe I'm throwing out wild ideas, you need something in the summer where you have a mini little tournament of prospects and rookies coming in for fun, like basketball does, like the NBA does, a little bit earlier, so that you have fewer preseason games, but you're getting your feet wet because you're getting on the ice, you're building the systems, you're implementing it, you're adjusting. I'm not saying these guys aren't prepared. As soon as they step on the ice, they're ready to go. But sometimes, the NHL could be a little bit much for someone coming from the KHL, coming from the AHL, coming from Europe. And so you want to adjust and you want to make an impression. So that's how I see it as. It's got pros and cons. I like it. I don't take too much stock into it, but there is something to, if you're going 0-7 or 0-8, I've got some questions. If you're 3-4 or if you're 2-5, whatever. Yeah. But even 1-7, let's say, in 8 games, I got some questions, because what's happening? What's going on that your team can't score and win 1 or 2 games, right? So that's how I look at it.
And I think everyone can agree the preseason means nothing. Like, you could come in, score a whole bunch of points. We've seen that with how many teams. You do really well, you get into the season, and you're just another player. It's a different game. The last game might be the game that makes the difference. The last preseason game, where you got pretty much 80 to 90% of your lineup in place, but. And I believe that the difference is they used to not come ready. They were getting in shape during camp. They're already in shape. They're ready like weeks early.
These guys are training 24/7.
Okay, so a couple things. Let's just quick mention. Zill's talking about injuries more easy to acquire in hockey compared to basketball. I agree. However, if you're so worried about protecting yourself, I think that you're going to miss out on opportunities to showcase. And I know Kyle was referring to football, but this is in all places. It will make it better when your team finally makes it. You have to stick with your team through the rough seasons. And that's what makes it joyous. When you have a down season, to see the turnaround, that's all the difference, man, in the world, right? So
you also want to see some of your prospects or your draft picks that are picked up and see what they do. I'm going to talk, and I know this is local, Bo Akey, who was picked up by the Oilers. He had a great few games in the preseason, played really well in the rookies tournament. He's been already dropped down. But he really impressed, and a lot of guys didn't really know who he was, except for a lot of the insiders in the organization. And even those, they didn't see what he can do while he's on the ice. So it just goes to show you that sometimes guys can make a name for themselves and really come in, to camp and make an impression and be like, give a second glance to the coaching staff and say, oh, you know, Calvin Pickard for Edmonton. You know, we all know he's been a third string goalie for a while now.
Yeah.
Played very well against Winnipeg, even though Edmonton lost that game 5-0. Again, you come in, you impress. So you look at these prospects, you start looking at it, and as you alluded to, Evan, and people can talk about it. You guys can comment below who you think is going to win the Calder. There's a lot of great young talent coming into it. Yeah. On top of the 15 players that Rev notes every year, there's more than that. Quadruple that number.
Absolutely.
Think about the talent that's coming in. You know, Connor Bedard, as we talked about last week, you guys should go check out that episode.
With Tab Bamford.
With Tab Bamford about his potential projection this year. The amount of prospects that are coming into the league now, and the league is getting younger, and these guys are getting more fit and ready to play. Yeah, this is a young man's league, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited.
Yeah. You know, actually saying that, by the way, hey, Adam, welcome in. He says, it's hockey talk. What's up? Shitheads. Well, poop heads. Okay, right on, Adam. So I just want to mention, if you guys don't follow Tab Bamford, I really encourage you to. He shared in his tweets, and I've reposted it over at Rev and Ev, as well as there's different stuff that you can catch also from my partner here, my co-host at hockey_2. But he did this beautiful, and during the scrimmage, it was a saucer pass from back over top of everybody, right up to the forward to go in and get his break. Right now, it sounded perfect on paper, Hall setting up with Bedard. Right now, it's been perfect in chemistry in camp. So tomorrow night's game with Bedard and Hall together is going to be a very watched. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I have not been following the Hawks for quite a while as far as close watching of games. This year, I am going to be setting my television, my streaming, everything. I am going to watch because it's Connor freaking Bedard. I am going to take every opportunity to enjoy because of the skill and the talent. I want to see how he develops. I don't expect him to be the next great superstar. I just know that he plays a wonderful, exciting game. So it's going to be great, man. So Zill says that's 2 weeks in a row you were going to do Rev's top 15, but you haven't done it. Zill, and part of that is
disappointing the fans as always. Evan.
So Zill, part of that has to do with the fact that it's a lot more difficult than I thought this year. That's why I'm slowly building it. I thought it would be easier, but it's not as easy as I thought, and I haven't had the time to kind of build it. I've been working on my palatial studio.
I should
in my beautiful new setup.
Be like, where's Evan's top 15? He keeps promising these imaginary lists, and they never appear. Right?
So what people don't realize is a Rev's top 15 probably takes about 65 hours of work to get the top 15, and I've only got about 20 hours in. And the 20 hours I got were the easy. It's the last part of it. It's the last 9 that are harder than the first 6. Does that make sense? 15? Yeah, that's top 15.
Evan's just making excuses and his math is off, so that's fine.
So
that's what's new,
okay.
Right?
So hey, let's just hit in and let's do a final wrap up when it comes around the big talk right across the league right now is about the Heritage Classic that's going to be between the Battle of Alberta, the Calgary Flames, and the Edmonton Oilers. But it's not the talk because of the teams. It's the talk because it's an outdoor game. It's in October for the very first time, and it is the retro uniforms. So if you haven't got a chance to go look for the Heritage Classic uniforms. So let's quickly talk about what we saw between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers with these throwback kind of idea uniforms and what they were done. Why don't you go first, and then I'll do a wrap on it, and we'll call it quits.
I mean, they did the reveal from the classic teams that used to play in Edmonton, the old Calgary Stampeders, which is now our CFL team, and the Edmonton Mercury, I believe it was. They used to play in the 50s here in Edmonton. So I like them. I think they're vintage. I'm not crazy, although I get it, that the pads that are brown and the gloves that are brown, like very old school, but I dig it. That's very 50s hockey. I like it. I think it's going to look great. People can complain all they want. I really feel like my wallet is just going to take another big hit now because I have to get another 2 jerseys. So I'm enjoying them. I think this year with a lot of the jerseys, with the Winnipeg jersey, the retro one, the Minnesota Wild one. They're all looking amazing. Yeah, you know what, Evan? I'm not going to lie. I dig him a lot, and I applaud it. I also want to congratulate Michael Backman for signing his new contract and becoming the captain of the Flames. So that's a pretty big deal. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I this is how I look at it. I actually like the Calgary Flames jerseys as a better look. That's from my perspective. However, I actually like the retro kind of look of the Oilers. Now, I'll tell you why I like that leather look with the brown. It is so ugly, but it's so retro looking. Hey, Jed. So Jed just got in here. Hey, Jed, he says, I like that the Oilers retro actually looks retro as of the de facto third jersey. 100%. 100%. I think that's what makes it so unique. And I think if you're going to do an outdoor game, you got to look at it from that perspective.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, with it. So, and this is going to be an excellent opportunity to see a filled stadium again in Canada, you know, in a hockey game, because there's nothing like hockey outdoors in either the northern states or in Canada. And that's because you got that feel of the north, right? With cold enough weather.
I'm looking forward to that game. I'm pretty pumped. It should be a great time. I'm just going to say that I think people need to, if they don't like it, you have to understand, sometimes you got to hit it out of the park and do your best and go wild. Because sometimes we get the same repetitive jerseys and it's like, well, just the logo with a slightly different edge or there's a patch or something. You need something bold, and I like bold. And I think this is a bold statement, and I think I like it. I need more of it.
Woo! Sounds great. Well, guys, just a reminder, go onto our website, twoguysinhockeytalk.com. You can check out the Revs Top 15 over the years. Check out our latest blogs. We got some new ones coming. We got 2 or 3 coming this week. Check out all our former guests, including Jed. Hey, Jed, thanks for stopping by. We've had Kyle. We've had Zill. We've had a few others that have been on our show before. Thanks for stopping by again. You can go in, check out their platform, find all the things to be able to follow, as well as you can find us. If you want to get connected, make sure you follow, subscribe, like, and share. Help us be able to get the message out. And I do want to just go back and say, hey, thanks to Sports Empire Network, Penny Billionaires, our JR Web Designs, and our new sponsorship with the MIHL, the Kalkaska Battlers. So it's going to be great. And you are right, Zill. Zill is saying, yay. Hang on here. Where we go. Got to get it up there. Yay, Penny Billionaires. And there's a reason I do that.
She's singing one of the songs?
She's singing it right now, probably as we talk. So, all right, man, it's been another ring-a-ding-dong dandy. But in the famous words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. We love you all.
Cheers. Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche. Done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tie. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
He didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't get fired. He never got his contract renewed.